So this is like a special video for feeder fishing on rivers for bream. A few friends of mine from Poland have asked me to do one of these, so I'll give it a go. I'll just stick to the mixes that I normally would go down. The first one being Super Cracked Bream. You can either use the black or the brown or whichever suits your purposes, I suppose. You can mix this with other mixes if you like. You know, I'd mix this with good old trusty brown crumb, like I've always used in most of my feeder mixes. I'll probably go, depending how soft you want the mix. If you want it quite soft and fluffy, then I'll go 70% Super Cracked to 30% brown crumb. Or you could add record sweet to it, like 30% of that to Super Cracked. No problem at all. The other one, which is quite an obvious one, DS feeder. Mix that with brown crumb as well if you like, or just use it on its own, entirely up to you. Another obvious choice is the turbo feeder black, or the brown one. Catch a lot of fish on that, but you can mix the super sweet with that, it's a record sweet with that if you want, or brown crumb, whichever you want to mix with it. Another obvious one, which a lot of people don't use anymore, which is a bit weird, the River Ace, which is obviously intended for rivers. It's quite more of a reddy type colour. Awesome for bream, chub and barbel, and bigger roach on rivers. The other one that I would recommend is the feeder bream, although it is quite a white mix, very light in colour. It's a very good mix for bream, obviously. You can darken it off if you like, just by adding some turbo black or just colouring it if you need to, but I really don't see the point in doing that on rivers, because the fish have to eat, because they're always moving. You can go down the fish meal route if you need to, if your waters are used to them, I suppose. The F1 sweet fish meal would be a good starting point. Most fish will eat fish meal mixes these days, so that might be worth a try. It's also a very fine mix though. If you look at through there's hardly any large particles. It is quite a fine mix. Unless you want to go the other way and just go totally fish meal, then obviously the expander fish meal would do a perfect job. Or you can mix them with the DS feeder or the turbo black or the bream feeder even. Entirely up to you which way you want to mix it. But I'll go a little bit easy with the fish meal mix if you don't know if the fish are used to it or not. Moving on to additives. The obvious one is the liquid booster bream. Very good mix booster for any ground baits or pellets or whatever you're using. The next one's cream. Also a very sweet mix, as you can imagine. The good old trusty liquid aroma caramel. Been working well for decades. The next one is syrup, which is also a very sweet one. I've used this quite a lot over the last year or so, and I've caught a lot of big bream using it. Just go easy on it because it is very sweet. And then we've got Secret, which is also another sweet mix, booster should I say. All very good to use in ground baits. Just you need to be careful how much you're putting in because you don't want to over sweeten it. Moving on to the powders or the concentrates, obviously Bream. Can't go wrong with that. You only need like a teaspoon per kilo, so you don't want to go overboard with that. Then we've got concentrated intense sweet. As the name suggests, it is very sweet, but it draws the fish in, which is the whole purpose of using these things. Because on rivers, obviously, the fish have got to come to you. The next one, if you're not using chopworm or anything in your ground bait, in your feeder, just use the aminos, the natural, or you can get the flavoured ones. Doesn't really matter, but that helps substitute chopworm and casters and pinkies and all that kind of stuff. And you've got the betaine. Obviously, if you're not using fish meal mixes, then put some betaine in there because that helps. Because the fish that need all these substances when they're swimming up and down the river. And the next one I'd definitely recommend is the super sweet concentrate. lost count how many times I've used that now since I've started using them. Brilliant, can't fault it, can't praise that stuff enough. There's so many big bream I've caught on that, not just on lakes and rivers and canals. Pretty much everywhere I've used it I've always managed to find some big bream somewhere. Yeah, that's about it. There are loads of other mixes I could go through, but I'll be here all day doing that. But just go a bit easy on what you're mixing. That's basically it really. If you've got any questions, just pop a comment below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Stay safe, tight lines.